So it's been fun. I like putting books in the street libraries, where I take the expired books from the Hallicove Library and the Marion Library and I put them in the street library. But recently, there's going to be ID, where I have to submit ID to YouTube or something to keep using YouTube. Now, I don't like the idea of submitting ID to YouTube. I don't like the idea of submitting ID to any website. You already need to be an adult to use the internet, to get the internet. But if you have to submit ID to a website to use it, then that means that the government or whoever, private corporations, can use that information to say, oh, this person said this person said that. And it means you're not allowed to joke about them. Because because that's the truth. The truth is, if someone in power can't handle a joke about them, then is their power legitimate? Because they say, oh, harmful content, children accessing harmful content. Well, I saw Casino as a kid, but I had a loving family. So, what's important is a loving family, not whether, you see some violent movie or something on, and it comes back to inequality, of course. The greater the gap between rich and poor, the worse the health of the society. This is discussed in The Spirit Level, of course, by Richard Wilkinson and Kate Pickett. And I noticed that it's not on YouTube anywhere. The Spirit Level wasn't on YouTube. So I put it on YouTube. I had to buy it and I ripped it and I put it on YouTube. And that's what the government should be focusing on, reducing inequality. But they're not focused on inequality. They're focused on more control. This ID thing, it's basically the joke police. You can't say certain things against the government or corporations, because a joke that goes too far brings into question their power. That's the power of memes. Also, regarding putting The Spirit Level on YouTube, there seems to be this impression from the control system or power establishment, whatever you want to call it, that the internet is a shopping mall. The internet is not a shopping mall. The internet is a library. Of course, public libraries try to interact with the internet in a bureaucratically safe way, where books that you borrow digitally elapse after a certain amount of time, but that doesn't go far enough. The internet, like digital content, should be able to be copied, as much as possible, so knowledge is spread. See, that's the thing about copyright. Copyright isn't real. This reality, whatever you want to call it, has already allowed any combination a human can come up with. So anything put under copyright is actually plagiarism. It's plagiarizing reality, claiming that something is yours. Because if you claim copyright over something and claim you own it, it's not enjoying the experience. It's trying to profit off something that you just discovered. You didn't create it. You didn't create reality. You just discovered it. Also, besides putting books in the street library, which I like doing, I like taking the expired books from the street libraries. I mean, the expired books from the public libraries and putting the books in the street libraries. I've also been ripping audiobooks because it's with Audible and other audiobook kind of websites. They're subscription paid, so the books are behind a paywall again, just the same as university documents or whatever. It's behind a paywall. So I've been putting the audiobooks that I've been able to get a hold of on Rumble, because Rumble seems to be more forgiving than YouTube regarding putting books on the site. Also, to contribute to Project Chanology or whatever, the anti-Scientology project, because they tried to take a joke away from Anonymous. Scientology goes on and on and on about how you should buy their book Dianetics and how it'll make you happy and all that kind of thing. So I put the Dianetics book for free on my channel. I pirated it and I put it for free on my channel. Yeah. Basically, what this ID stuff will do is it'll force the internet itself to go even further underground with like VPNs and the Tor browser and stuff like that. It doesn't address the issue. It does not address the issue. The issue is inequality. The issue is the system itself that perpetuates inequality. Then what perpetuates inequality? Well, it's trade. And trade is two parties both attempting to use deception to gain the better end of the deal. And that's seen as the pinnacle of human society. The pinnacle of human interaction is seen as trade. Trade is not the pinnacle of human society. It's sharing. It's sharing. That's why the good thing about that public libraries exist and that street libraries exist and all that kind of thing, passing on knowledge and sharing knowledge and all that kind of thing. And that's why I upload books to Rumble, because they're forgiving regarding uploading books to Rumble. Speaking of sharing, imagine all the people sharing all the world. It's interesting to me how that that regarding how John Lennon was killed or whatever for writing Imagine. It's interesting how the system, or whatever you want to call it, the mob or the system, doesn't matter which, can be threatened by a song, by the song Imagine. That it's the system is threatened by that song Imagine. So what I did is, while I was able to do it, you can't do this anymore, is I took the lyrics of Imagine and I put them into an AI song generator, and I generated as many Imagines as possible while this was available on AI song websites like Suno and Udio. You could never do it, and Refusion or Producer AI, you could never do this. But Suno, you were able to do this, where you were able to put John Lennon's lyrics of Imagine into it, and I generated about 5 hours worth of Imagines before it was blocked. That's kind of to say, F you to the system. That's my way of kind of saying F you to the system anyway. So I'm going to be off YouTube basically when this ID thing comes in, because I'm not going to because the internet is for adults, really. If you're a parent and you're not going to take proper steps to protect the child from a content that you don't want them accessing or whatever. But this is beside the fact that a loving family is the most important aspect. And a loving family is more common in more equal countries, probably. But if you don't take steps to properly, set up a YouTube account and put the settings in place, you know, settings in place to say that you don't want your child accessing certain parts of YouTube, because those settings that capability is already in YouTube. Basically, this ID verification thing is going to prevent me from going on YouTube. So that's going to be the end of this Street Library project, really. Because you already have to be an adult to get the internet. And so after you get the internet, when you are an adult, and then you have to say, prove you're adult again to a private company, because this is like third party companies or whatever that are going to verify that you're an adult and all this sort of thing. Which again comes back to that, this could be used as a sign that, that the joke police is going to get onto you, if you say certain things that are against either large corporations or governments or something. Which the science that, is on my channel is effectively counterculture. Saying that the bigger the gap between rich and poor, the worse the health of society. That's very anti-establishment, because the establishment wants, tougher laws and all that kind of thing, tough on crime and all that kind of thing. They only know how to stimulate violence. They don't know how to prevent violence. They don't know how to stimulate violence. Also, besides the spirit level, which is about inequality, there's also the other counterculture book, which I recently transcribed on this Street Library Man channel, called No Contest, The Case Against Competition by Alfie Kohn. And it goes through the monumental amount of scientific evidence against competition. And, of course, that can't get out because, people, are programmed or conditioned to, watch competitive sports and all that kind of thing. So you can't have, the internet or science saying otherwise, saying that, competitive sport is bad. But anyway, so I've enjoyed doing this Street Library project, where I've taken books to the street libraries and stuff. But if YouTube is going to require that I have to show ID to get onto my own YouTube channel, when I am an adult or whatever, but it doesn't that obviously YouTube won't care about that. It will just care about whether I show ID or not. It doesn't care that I'm actually an adult or not. It'll just care whether they show that whether I release my ID or not. And I'm not going to release my ID. That's bullshit, because only adults can get the internet in the first place. So, the idea of making the internet, completely child friendly and all this sort of thing, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. So anyway, that's it. Bye.